That's the way to get going. Whew. All right, so welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. My name is Jean DeVenny, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am this morning's worship associate. For those of you who are visually impaired, I am a 70-year-old woman with graying hair, wearing a brown sweater and a brightly colored scarf and a chalice pendant. Along with everyone here in the sanctuary in Eugene, we also have visitors and friends joining us on Zoom. Wave to the Zoom people. They're all parts of the world. We often have friends in Mexico, in Michigan, and California. And I don't know why we picked those three places. It's kind of unusual, but it's true. As well as members who just need a morning in their pajamas. So, wherever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we are so happy that you're here. If today is your first time here and you did not pick up a handy guide to the Sunday morning worship out in the hall, you can wave your hand, and Robin, who's one of our greeters back there, will get one to you. Just stick your hand in the air and he'll come and give one to you. Okay, there's one. And please notice, everyone, who the newcomers are. So after the service, you can greet them, make them feel welcome, and invite them to join us here as their spiritual home. So this guide will have information about accessibility, order of service, the joys and sorrows, coffee hour, etc. So during coffee hour, right after the service, we extend an invitation to visit the welcome room, which is located over in the south foyer. I never know if it's foyer or foyer, but it's a great place for newcomers and longtime members to meet and greet each other. If you'd like to learn more about the Unitarian Universalist faith and our church, the spring term of the Inquirers program is starting today. So Inquirers is a 9-week drop-in program that provides information on Unitarian Universalism in general and the UUCE programming here at this church and activities that we have for visitors, people considering membership, and anyone who's simply curious. So we meet from 11:30 to 12:15 in the welcoming room again, in the foyer. And this Sunday, Dick Lesher will be presenting on the small group connection circles. So now, I just want to take a pause and invite you into a time of worship with the lighting of the flaming chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. And Liz LaVentura is going to help light the chalice. Political theorist John Scher said, "The future is not simply a place we are going, but a place we are creating." With this in mind, he wrote, the Reverend John Taylor wrote, "May this flame cast its light toward the coming days, reminding us that the path of new possibilities will not be found, but made. A new world is waiting to be built. May our time together light the way." And now let's say together the words of our mission, which affirm our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
My name is Ellie Moran, and I am a 67-year-old trans woman, new to Eugene by a year, and new to the church by a year. And thank you all for welcoming me into your congregation. It's been a wonderful, wonderful spiritual home for me. trans people on this celebration that we're doing today of Trans Day of Visibility a week later, because we didn't want to take over Easter as we were being accused of doing, although I thought it was a good idea. And we could have called it a second coming. Now, the reason why I'm here is trans people value interpersonal relationships very much. And it goes from the positive and nurturing relationships that we can develop with family, if we're lucky, the relationships that we develop with our chosen family, and the positive relationships that we develop with our friends and people who are called our allies, and then even people who go further than that, and I would call them accomplices. Then there are people who go above and beyond the accomplice phase. And one of those people in my life, in the lives of many trans people here at UUCE, is Ryan Doppelmayr. And I would like to recognize her today with, and this is where this comes in. Don't want to fall off here. And Ryan, would you come up to accept your award? And the award is, hear ye, henceforth, and here sootheth, and for all time, let it be known, both hither and yon, that the UUCE LGBTQ plus Third Saturday group has awarded one Ryan Doppelmayr, yay, who uses she, her pronouns, very important, a cisgender woman, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a teacher, a former of faith, a maker of macaroni and cheese, a mother, a daughter, a wife, and a really neato girlfriend. We bestow the unique title, Honorary Trans Person. For her tireless and exuberant support of trans and non-binary issues and people inside and outside of UUCE, and henceforth, she is entitled to use the honorific MX, MX, period, whenever and wherever she darn well pleases. Okay. And just to kind of cement the deal, we presented you with a stitched flag and a Protect Trans Kids t-shirt. And my signed copy the signed copy that was given to me by the author, one of the aunts, one of the great aunts of transgender in America movement, Kate Bornstein, and the book is called Gender Outlaw, and it's my gift personally
Yay.
to Ryan.
Thank you,
In St. Paul, Minnesota, a huge billboard displays the art of non-binary creator Jamie Malone. The artwork depicts a brown-skinned person, eyes closed, tears of glimmering light falling down plump cheeks. There's a halo beaming from the top of their head, and large Gothic letters on both sides spell out, "Trans people are holy. Trans people are sacred." Another billboard displayed in the Bronx has a background of vibrant orange. 3 people are arranged among mushrooms and various green and brown plants. Large white letters spell out the words, "Black trans people are sacred." This one was created by Gabriella Grimes, a Black queer artist who creates artwork showing queer people of color living happy, beautiful, multifaceted lives. These billboard art pieces have been on displays in cities like Atlanta, Detroit, Oakland, St. Louis, and paid for by an organization called Save Art Space. They started this project in 2015 as a response to the rise in calculated systemic discrimination against trans people. In their words, it is our goal to reclaim public space for the trans community. Now is the time to bring our light into the world like never before. Good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to this celebration of International Transgender Day of Visibility. My name is Jen Youngsun Rue. I use the pronouns she and her, and I serve this religious community as its minister. Transgender Day of Visibility was started in 2009 by Rachel Crandall Crocker, who is amazed, frankly, by the number of people who recognize this day each year on March 31st. We did hold off a week because of Easter, but that certainly doesn't dampen today's celebration. I want to say hello especially to our friends from TransPonder who are here today, Sarah Summers and Andrew Horan. They are here from TransPonder, who is our community partner, and they are going to be at a table out in the hallway right after the service. So please find them and learn more about TransPonder today. Yes, it is good. Today is one of those many celebrations in life where we hold both happiness and sadness at the same time. The joy of being alive and thriving and free, wanting that joy to be available to every trans and gender nonconforming person in the world, and not knowing and knowing that this is not where the world is. Not yet. Recently, the National Center for Transgender Equality released the results of a survey completed by a record number of transgendered people this year. The survey shows that nearly all of the respondents reported greater life satisfaction after transitioning and had good sources of support in their lives. And at the same time, nearly half of those responding had thought about moving to another state because their state government considered or actually passed laws that targeted transgender people for unequal treatment. We know that there are people right here in our own town, right here in our own neighborhoods, and sometimes right here in our own families who do not believe that trans and gender non-binary people should be able to exist freely. And we know that religious institutions are some of the most powerful social forces promoting this kind of intolerance. This is why it's so important for us as people of faith to make this day part of sacred worship, because trans people are holy, trans people are sacred. Come, let us worship together.
Hi, my name is Jones David Hollister. I am a white, queer, non-binary trans man. I am short and round and beautiful and happily wearing my Protect Trans Kids shirt today. Not my customary tie, I know. I have known since I was young that the very binary social expectations of gender did not fit me. As a young person, I had some models of androgyny and gender bending. David Bowie, Grace Jones, but it was always theater, an act, PR. It may have been a presentation of their authentic self, but they were public figures playing with something that was part of who I was. And I didn't have anyone to look to who was talking about gender the way I was experiencing it. I have used a lot of ways to describe my gender over the years. Gender bender, bi-dyke, androgynous, gender queer, gender not normal. Over the time, I realized that non-binary, but seen as a woman by others, was not a good fit either. The pronoun she hurts to hear when referencing me. And the more I started to say to people, my pronoun is they, but if you're gonna mess up, use he, the more I realized that what made me hum with resonance was when folks saw me as a non-binary person who was transmasculine, which is why I identify as a non-binary trans man, not just a non-binary person. One of the key reasons I have been able to live into being who I am for much of my life in different parts of my life is that as I got older, I started to meet other people who were trans. There started to be books written by trans folks that I was aware of. There started to be people in the public eye, in movies and in books and in stories and in TV shows who weren't stereotypes or exaggerations or sorrowful figures, but just regular old trans folks living their life. I have learned to love myself as I am, in part because I have community, both in the church and outside of the church, that reflects that my gender is valid and beautiful and sacred and holy. For me, Trans Day of Visibility isn't about all people should be visible. It is about how those of us who are able to be out, showing the world that doing so is possible and okay. I have been closeted professionally as a teacher for decades. I was closeted in different parts of my life. I'm grateful that I have at a church, which has been the place where I have been out for a long time. when as a youth I didn't see visible trans folks and I had all this stuff going on. I grew up in the 70s and early 80s, y'all, so like there was a lot of, and in a very traditionally gendered home. And there was a lot of things going on around me. I felt overwhelmed, shamed, and frightened because I knew I didn't fit, and there wasn't anything out there that I found as a youth that showed me that I was okay. I care deeply about this day, Trans Day of Visibility, because young me could have used some hope while living in a world that sees me as a mistake, as a problem, as a criminal, as deranged, as dangerous. And that is still the reality of the world we live in. It might be easier in some ways, but in some ways it's harder. That we've had a touchstone of my dream and it is being taken away. It is deeply frightening to live as an out trans person in this world. Those of us who can be loud and proud and visible make change in this world through living our authentic lives visibly, despite the hatred and ignorance we encounter, and that matters. That matters to the kids like me. That matters to folks who aren't sure what this means. It matters because there are people who are like, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm wrong in how I think about people like you. And it matters because in a time where the way we are being portrayed is as awful humans, there are so many of us standing up and saying, I am a trans person, and I am beautiful, and I am sacred, and I am loved, and I am holy, and I am a normal person as I am.
Please remain seated and join in singing hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone?
O wondrous love, O God of many names, we cry out in these troubling times. So many are struggling just to live, and others are struggling just to be happy. We are fighting with one another and fighting with ourselves. We are at war. And yet, through your messengers, the spring rain and the flowers, the flowing rivers, the goldfinch, the butterflies, and the countless people of goodwill, we are reminded that love has always been the most powerful force in the world. We will not give in to despair. We will not give in to tyranny. We will not give up on each other. Blessed be. Amen.
Dear trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and gender-expansive friends and kin, and those of us whose gender is survival, let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. You are not hard to love and respect. Your existence is a blessing. Your pronouns are not a burden or a trial. They are part of your name, just shorter. Some of our kin use only their names, where pronouns would be the names they are called. Remember that someone getting them wrong is not a poor reflection on you. It is not your fault. Your body, really and truly, belongs to you, no one else. The stories of your body, the names of your body's parts, your body's privacy, the sum of your body's glory. It is not okay for anyone to press their story of you back to the beginning of our liberation. We will find the people ready to be on the Freedom for the People way. We will go on. No one can rename you other. It can't stick, as you offer the gift of being and saying who you are. Mostly, though, your stories belong to you. Your joy and complexity are beautiful, however you may choose to tell it or not tell it. Some folks, cis, may take their liberty for an unholy license. You are beloved. Please keep to our shared tasks of healing, getting free.
My name is Austin Arrowwood. My pronouns are he, him. I am a short, white-haired man with a shirt that says, "I hope you know how loved you are," in the pride colors. I've thought a lot over the past few years about Transgender Day of Visibility and what it means to me. And in order to explain that fully, I want to give you a bit of a background. I grew up in Oregon in the 80s. My family was very religious and conservative. When I was 5, I knew that my body felt wrong to me. However, I had no words to explain that to anyone. I had a discomfort that just felt like a rock in the pit of my stomach. It grew as I got older. I didn't understand what was happening. I thought maybe all people felt this way. When I was a teenager, my friends would talk about their bodies and how they were uncomfortable with certain features or characteristics, so I figured that must be what I was feeling also. I didn't see transgender people that I recognized as such anyway. And when I was growing up, I heard whispers at church or tacky jokes from friends about men who cross-dressed and homosexuals, but I didn't ever hear about women who felt like men. When I was 25, I told my therapist I felt like I was born in the wrong body. I felt like I should have been born a boy, and a mistake happened somewhere along the way. She brushed it aside. This was around the year 2000, and it still wasn't talked about very much. She told me she was sure that I was female, and I just needed to explore my sexuality. I had married a man young, and I had kids because that's what I was supposed to do. Over the next 15 years or so, I focused on raising my kids and figuring out who I was and what I wanted out of life. I dressed very masculine presenting, and I dated women, so people said, "Oh, you're a lesbian." But that didn't feel right to me either. I knew that a lesbian was a woman who was attracted to women, and that wasn't me. But again, I didn't have the words to explain that to anyone. And then I met my friend Alex. He's a trans man, and my world flipped on its axis. I realized that there was such a thing as feeling that you had the wrong body, and you could actually do something about it. I started researching hormones and surgeries. I was studying everything I could to figure out how to make this happen. I was also trying to figure out how my family and kids would react if I chose to go that route. Would I lose my entire family? Would my kids stop talking to me? Would I be blowing up my life in the hopes of being happy? I finally decided to transition in 2020 at 45 years old. It's been the best decision I ever made for myself. My family and friends all say how much happier I am now and how much lighter I appear. As grateful as I am that I was finally able to transition, I often think about how much happier and more peaceful my life could have been if I had transitioned a long time ago. That is why Trans Day of Visibility matters to me, because there are other kids, teens, adults out there who worry that if they transition, they won't be happy, that their families will reject them, that they will never pass in public or be able to have happy, fulfilling lives. They need to see that we exist. We have families, hobbies, jobs. I especially feel it's important with our current political climate and all the states that are passing harmful laws directed at deliberately taking away the rights of trans individuals. Seeing your existence being deliberately attacked by your leaders can feel so heavy that we just often feel like it's not even worth it. And we need the lawmakers and the youth to see that we are just normal people living our lives, and we deserve that right just like everyone else. Transgender Day of Visibility also gives us hope. Trans Day of Remembrance has been around a while, and it's important because we need to remember those who have been touched by violence. But it can also be really heavy, and so it's vital to see the other side, the trans joy that is out there in the world, and I want to celebrate that joy.
And now let's say our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, friends, as you go, may you have faith in life to do the wise planting, that the generations to come may reap even more abundantly. May you be bold in bringing to fruition the vision of human kinship and justice. Go in peace, everyone. Go in love.